Hi, Gene here with my thoughts for today. And today, well, I do this occasionally. I want to help our friends on the left, our friends, the Democrats, because they seem to be, well, sort of flailing lately. They're having trouble gaining any traction against the Republicans, especially, well, they are just attacking Donald Trump and the Republicans on, well, just about everything that you could think of. But today, we'll just focus on the economy because they are, well, you know what? I'm going to turn the floor over to Harry Enton. He is the, I guess you call him the polling guru at CNN to explain the problem that the Democrats are having.
Yeah, you would think after all of the waves, Kate Baldwin, after the last few months, the first 5 months of the Donald Trump presidency, right, the first 4 months of the Donald Trump presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error. Plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me?
This is new CNN polling.
Yes.
How is that, when we look for trends, how is that trending with other data that you're pulling in?
Yeah, if it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on. And yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, and that is the reason why, even if Donald Trump's approval ratings are a little bit lower than they used to be, Republicans are not out of the ballgame because they still have a clear advantage on the economy, whether you look at CNN's polls or whether you look at the Ipsos poll right here, in which they have a 12-point advantage on the economy, Kate.
And also in the CNN data, it does show that Republicans are gaining ground in an area that is key relating to all of this, which is when it comes to the middle class.
Yeah. You know, historically speaking, which is the party of the middle class has been a huge advantage for Democrats. I have polling from NBC going all the way back since 1989 when Democrats had a 23-point advantage. 2016, a 17-point advantage. But by this decade, we already started seeing declines back in 2022 where you saw that Democrats led, but only by 4 points, well within the margin of error. And now in our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything else. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away, and now a key advantage for Democrats historically has gone adios amigos, and now there is no party that is the party of the middle class. Republicans have completely closed the gap, Kate.
All right. There's a lot of messages and a lot to be learned from these numbers and this data. It's good to see you, Harry.
Nice
Thank you so much.
You just heard Harry Enton. He explained the problem, and the problem is that the polling is showing that the Republicans and Donald Trump are doing well on the economy. Not only that, and this really surprised, well, it didn't so much. I'm sure it shocked a lot of Democrats, but did you hear what he said at the end there about who represents the middle class, that the Democrats were always ahead and often, probably more often than not, far ahead of the Republicans on who represents the middle class. And now we see that they are exactly even. And then we have Trump or the Republicans 8 points ahead on just handling, the economy, having the best economic plan, whatever. And, the Democrats are having a lot of trouble figuring out why this is. Why is this happening? And I'm going to bring on another person. This is Rick Santelli. He is, one of the financial talking heads on CNBC to explain it.
Rick Santelli standing by. Got some important numbers. Is at the CME in Chicago. Rick, they should be hitting any second, right now, in fact.
Yes, yes, they're hitting the wires as we speak. These are, of course, personal income and spending for the month of April. We're also getting inventories, which are hitting the wire first. Wholesale inventories unchanged. We're expecting up 0.4. Retail inventories come in as expected, down 0.1%. And personal income is up 0.8, up 0.8%. That is almost triple the expectations, and it underscores, we could talk about a lot of issues, but when you look at income for the first 4 months of the year, they're powerful numbers, Joe. Up 0.6 in January, up 0.7 in February, up 0.5% last month, up 0.8 this month. This is a great 4-month start to any year. Now, with the income shooting up, and by the way, 0.8 is the strongest income month-over-month jump since May of 21, when it was 1.9. If we look at spending, comes in exactly as expected, up 0.2. This follows an up 0.7 number, which was the best since December of last year. Now let's look at real spending adjusted for inflation. Comes in a little better at 0.1, but well below last month's up 0.7, which was the best since January of 23. If we look at the inflation numbers, and here we go, on a month-over-month basis for PCE, up 0.1 as expected. On a year-over-year PCE, up 2.1. That's 0.1 lighter than we were expecting. 2.1 equals SEPA 24. To find a lower one, you're back to February of 21. Now let's look at the core numbers on a month-over-month basis, up 0.1, exactly as expected. And if we look at a year-over-year perspective, 2.5 exactly as expected. A tenth lower than 2.6 last month, which then was revised to 2.7, which makes us down 0.2%. 2.5, well, the last time we were here, if I have to go back, wow, it's been a while since 2.5. I would say that you're going back to the spring of 21. Now, we talked about inventories. The last number is, of course, a very important number to this administration. This is the trade balance, which is a deficit, expecting minus 143 billion. Wow, it comes in much, much smaller, minus 87 billion. And now this follows a 163 that gets converted to 162 billion with a minus sign, the worst since record-keeping 1989. Then we cut it in half to 87.6. 87.6 would be the lightest, and I have to really go back. 87.6 would be the lightest since... wow, September of 23, SEP of 23. And this really does underscore how the movement of goods and services has really changed due to a variety of tariff-related issues. Now, after all of that, where are the markets? Well, up a little bit. We were at 441. We're now at 443 and a 10. By the way, it settled last week at 451. A 2-year is at 393. It was at 392 before the number, down 7 on the week. And I will just point out one more thing. Both maturities before the number were on pace for the lowest yield closes in 3 weeks, but we see that rates have moved up just a smidge. Joe, back to you.
And now, my liberal friends, my Democratic friends, having just heard Rick Santelli, I would hope that you have the answer to why the Republicans are rated more highly on the economy. And that is because, well, there were a lot of... Santelli gave you a long litany of economic statistics, but you put it all together, and the main takeaway is that the economy is doing well. The economy is doing well. There was one figure, inventories, wholesale inventories, that was like 0.1% below expectation. Everything else is at or just about. There might be a couple more. Overall, the economy is doing well. The numbers are good, especially that personal income for April. That went up 0.8%, triple what was anticipated. So, and he also cited the earlier months, the whole 4 months of the Trump presidency. And the problem then for the Democrats, the explanation is that the gaslighting is not working. You're telling people that the economy is bad, but they go to the store, they look at their paychecks, they see that it ain't so. And well, like I said, the gaslighting is not working. So my advice to them is it was Scott Bessent was interviewed. I think it was a Margaret Brennan. I don't remember who was interviewed. It was on one of the Sunday talk shows, and so he was questioned and said that, well, the economists are predicting, or the critics are predicting, that the tariffs will increase inflation. And Scott Bessent said very clearly, and he just said, well, the tariffs, where's the inflation? There hasn't been any inflation yet. And this is his advice, and it's advice that I gave actually in earlier vlogs, at least once, maybe twice. But he said, instead of all these news stories about what might happen, just wait and see what does happen. And that's the other problem that they're having. Number one, as I just said, that the economy is doing better than the Democrats keep predicting. But number two, is what I said, that they keep predicting results without waiting to hear what the results are. Wait for the results and then criticize them on it. And also, as I said in an earlier vlog, at least once, maybe twice, it doesn't. We're more than a year from the midterms, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anything that any criticism that you put forth now will, number one, most likely be forgotten by midterm elections, and number two, may, as we're seeing, the predictions may turn out to be wrong, or even if you're criticizing for something that actually has happened this early when you're doing that this much before the midterm election, it's number one, very possible that whatever problem there was will be turned around and solved, and number two, they'll be found wrong again, and you know what I mean? You can like they say, you bring a horse to water, can't make the horse drink. Same thing. That's my advice for the Democrats. And in the meantime, why don't you try working with Donald Trump, for a while. He is the president, which is another little aside here. We're getting near the end here. Turn this off if you don't want to hear more. But Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, she was, people made fun of her because she appeared at the White House, in the Oval Office with the president, and she held up a file, a file folder to hide her face, and she got ridiculed for that. So when Trump was actually in Michigan, she appeared with him, no file thing over her face, and she got criticized for appearing with him. And what she should say, I'm on her side on this, and I wish Trump would have said it, that Trump is the president of the United States. She is the governor. She has to work with the president for the good of Michigan. Whatever, it doesn't matter what they think of Trump. And actually, that's always been my credo. I don't have to work with I don't have to like somebody to work with that person if it's to my advantage to work with that person. Let's say, obviously, if they want to go out and shoot 20 people or something like that, there's some exceptions. Or if they're, going to make racist or remarks or anti-Semitic remarks all day long. Actually, there was one anti-Semite I worked with when I in my former life as a word processor, and it irritated me because he would say all this stuff, and I had to work with him. But it was either that or not work. It was a temporary employee, not a regular employee, so I couldn't complain to anybody. And I needed the work, so sometimes you have to make exceptions, and that's what Gretchen Whitmer should say. So, and by the way, if I were a Democrat, which thankfully I'm not, I would put her on the most likely to get elected president in 2028 that I can think of offhand would be she. She is she's high. I think she's in the high 60s in Michigan, which is astounding, considering how cruel she was during the COVID lockdowns. But anyways, neither here nor there. Just saying to the Democrats, you want to know why Trump and the Democrats and Republicans are doing better on the economy. Oh, and I guess one little thing I have to add now at the end, because something Harry Enton said, that the Republicans are rated higher than the president because his poll numbers are relatively low. Well, the Rasmussen poll, one of the most accurate ones in the 2024 election, and they only poll likely voters. They have, last time I checked, I didn't check today, the day before you're seeing this, but a day or two ago, he was at 51% among likely voters. And there's another poll, Trafalgar poll, that had him at 54%. But what you do is you go to realclearpolitics.com, and what Real Clear Politics does, and that's why they were right, they got criticized for the polling, and they said, hey, we don't do any polling. We just take all the polls and we just put them all, list them all, and then we just compute the average. So at the average, he's at 47%. So we'll see what future polls, if he gets, future favorable polls, then those earlier polls, the past polls will drop off, and then his average approval will go up. So throw that in there. But the main thing is Democrats. The problem is you keep telling us that, and I think I heard somebody still complain about egg prices, and egg prices are way, way down. Gas prices are way, where I live, it's like $2.50, about $2.50 a gallon outside of Tennessee, outside of Memphis, Tennessee area. So that's really cheap. And actually, if you adjust for inflation, like I always would say that gas was, when I was a kid, when I got my driver's license, gas was 35 cents a gallon. But to show you how badly this country has been governed financially, fiscally, I said, wow, 35 cents cheap. But I went online. There's any number of these inflation calculators. You can put in the value of a dollar, type in an amount, pick a beginning year, and then pick an ending year, which obviously would be you would pick 2024 because this year is not over yet. And you will find out that gasoline is actually, adjusted for inflation, cheaper than it was when I got my driver's license at the age of 16 in Michigan. So that goes where I'm from. So there you go. I'm going to end it for sure now. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Your comments welcome in the comment section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I'd love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.